Hello everyone, wishing you all a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into an amazing story of hope, love, and perseverance. We'll follow Huyen and Jay as they navigate life by the riverside, raising their little daughter, Bibi, working hard on their turmeric farm, learning to trust each other on a fragile raft, catching their first fish together, and finally embracing the joy of family and freedom after a long wait. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss our upcoming videos. The dawn light gently spread across the thatched roof by the riverbank. Huyen softly placed Bibi on the bamboo bed, whispering, "Sleep well, sweetheart. Mommy's going to the garden for a bit." Her bare feet touched the still damp earth as she picked up a small hoe and walked toward the old turmeric patch planted the previous year. Each dry thud of the hoe sent red soil tumbling, revealing bright yellow turmeric roots glowing like sunlight. Huyen smiled, gently brushing each root, a small hope rising in her heart. If she sold this batch, there'd be money to buy more honey, easing the persistent stomach pain. Sitting down, she picked up a small turmeric root the size of her finger and murmured to herself, "Pound it fine. Add a spoonful of honey. Drink it on an empty stomach. It warms you up." The morning breeze swept through the banana leaves, carrying the cool mist from the river. Huyen looked up at the newly built house, her heart suddenly warm. She knew she was no longer alone, yet every day she still had to keep moving forward on her own. A sparrow landed on the edge of the field, tilting its head to look at her. Huyen smiled softly. "Mommy's going to earn money to raise you." She bundled the turmeric into a basket, tied it tightly, then stood up. Her shadow stretched long across the misty ground. Bibi's cry echoed from the house. Huyen hurried back, her steps quickening along the dirt path leading to their fragile home. Jay carried the white styrofoam boat on his shoulder, sweat dripping down his face. Huyen had just finished bundling the turmeric when she looked up and saw him grinning. "I bought it. It's sturdy." Together, they carried the boat down to the riverbank. The sun glared off the white styrofoam, sparkling on the water's surface. Huyen gripped the edge of the boat tightly, her heart pounding. "What if it sinks?" Ji reassured her, though a flicker of worry crossed his eyes. He stepped in first. The boat dipped slightly, then floated buoyantly. He reached out his arms. "Come on, it's fine." Huyen bit her lip, stepped aboard, and both held their breath. The boat swayed lightly, but held steady, carrying both of them. A joyful shout escaped Jay, and Huyen laughed too, her eyes shining. He sat down and pulled Huyen beside him. They looked at each other as if they had just overcome a great challenge. The river breeze blew cool and fresh as the boat drifted with the current. Ji took the homemade paddle, gave it a gentle push, and the boat spun in circles, making them both laugh again. In that moment, all worries about money and court papers seemed to melt away. There was only them, learning to trust in a shared future, even if it rested on a fragile styrofoam boat in the middle of their quiet village river. The boat floated downstream under the brilliant golden sun. Jay paddled clumsily, spinning the boat wildly. Huyen laughed until tears fell. "Let me paddle." She took the paddle, gave a strong push, and the boat shot forward, wind tangling her hair. Ji cast the net in a perfect arc. It opened like a flower on the water. They waited in silence, hearts racing. When they pulled the net in, silver-scaled tilapia thrashed inside. Huyen cried out, "We caught some!" Jay laughed loudly and hugged her tightly on the rocking boat. Their eyes met, burning with pure primal joy. For the first time, they had done something meaningful for their little family. Jay held up the first fish to the sunlight. "For Bibi to eat." Huyen nodded, tears silently falling, not from sadness. The splashing fish, their laughter, and the lapping waves blended into a song of hope. Beneath the cloudless blue sky, on the quiet river, they felt it. As long as these hands held each other, they could weather any storm ahead. Bibi was brought to the riverbank, her round eyes wide at the fish in the net bag. Ji placed her on the boat's edge while Huyen held her from behind. "Sit still, sweetheart. Don't fall." Bibi clapped happily, her clear laughter ringing over the water. Ji looked at Huyen and their child, his eyes soft without needing words. Huyen whispered, "Let's go fishing again tomorrow. Catch lots to sell at the market, then we won't worry about milk money anymore." Ji nodded, stroking Bibi's hair. "Yes, from now on, our family won't have to buy fish from the market." The cool river breeze carried the scent of silt and fresh sunlight. Huyen retied her empty turmeric basket, preparing to head to Thebos market, but glanced back at Jay and Bibi on the boat, suddenly overwhelmed by the feeling of a real family, even if the papers didn't yet recognize it. The boat's reflection shimmered on the water, like a tiny home adrift in life's current. Bibi babbled, "Fish, fish," making both of them burst into laughter. The moment was fragile but priceless, like the last rays of sunlight embracing the river before night fell. The sound of slippers shuffling on the brick yard. Uncle Bean appeared, holding a white envelope. Jay was washing fish and looked up to see the old man's kind smile. "The court papers are here, at last." Jay wiped his hands, trembling slightly as he took the envelope. Opening it, the black letters on white paper struck his heart. "Freedom is coming soon." His voice grew hoarse with emotion. Uncle Ben patted his shoulder. "Congratulations, son. This time it's definitely over. Marry Huyen soon. I'm waiting for the wedding feast." Ji smiled, eyes red. "Yes, uncle, you have to come drink with us." The air suddenly brightened. He invited the old man inside and pressed a bag of fresh fish and clean vegetables into his hands. "Take these home to fry. They're delicious." Uncle Bean smiled warmly, looking at the sturdy new house. "You have a new home, a good woman. Keep going, son." When Uncle left, Ji stood quietly in the yard, still clutching the envelope, gazing toward the river, shimmering in the late afternoon light. He whispered to himself, "Just a few more days, then I can officially call you my wife." The river breeze blew past, carrying the breath of coming freedom, making the heart of the once lost man beat with a happiness he had never known. Huyen pushed open the door, her empty basket on her shoulder, face radiant. "Sold everything, honey." Jay stood up and immediately handed her the envelope. Huyen read it, eyes widening, then looked up at him, tears sparkling. "Is it true? It's almost over?" Jay nodded firmly and pulled her into his arms. "Yes, I'll be free soon. Will you marry me?" Huyen pressed her face into his chest and cried openly, but these were tears of joy exploding after so many days of waiting. They stood quietly in their small house, hearing each other's heartbeats clearly. Outside, a light rain began to fall, pattering steadily on the new tin roof. Ji stroked Huyen's hair. I'll call Sister Tui first, see how she reacts. Huyen nodded, wiped her tears, and smiled. No matter what, I'll wait for you. The warm yellow light of the oil lamp spread from the corner, illuminating their faces. One who had just found a harbor, one about to officially become a wife. Bibi babbled in the corner, as if urging time to move faster. The rain kept falling outside, but inside the little house by the river, there was only warmth and a fierce belief that the best things were right in front of them. The cooking fire crackled. The smell of fried fish filled the room. Ji set a pot of sour fish soup on the table. Huyen picked out a boneless piece of fish, blew on it gently, and fed it to Bibi. The child grinned widely, mouth smeared with fish sauce. Jay looked at mother and daughter, his eyes soft enough to embrace this entire small world. Huyen ladled soup and offered it to him. Try it. Did I season it right? Jia took a sip, nodded. The best I've ever had. They both laughed. Outside, the rain had stopped. Only the sound of the river lapping the bank remained. Ji reached across the table and held Huyen's hand. Tomorrow, I'll go fishing again. Catch a lot. We'll save for the wedding. Huyen squeezed his hand tightly, eyes bright. I'll plant more turmeric, more vegetables. We'll have everything. Bibi clapped, dropping a piece of fish on the floor, and the whole family laughed again. Under the warm glow of the oil lamp, 3 people sat close together. Steaming rice, fragrant fish, a pot of soup still rising with steam. No grand promises, just simple things that became the most sacred vows. Tomorrow's court hearing might still bring storms, but tonight they already had a real family. Even if the names on paper were still waiting to be changed. The story follows Huyen and Jay, a young couple living by the river with their daughter Bibi. Every day, they work tirelessly on their turmeric farm, care for their child, and face challenges on a fragile foam raft in the river. Together, they learn to trust each other, catch fish, and share simple yet deeply joyful moments. The warmth of family life shines through cozy meals, children's laughter, and acts of love. After many days of waiting, they finally receive news from the court, granting freedom and the opportunity to marry officially. The story closes with the image of their riverside home, symbolizing faith, hope, and a bright future for the family. This tale captures the power of perseverance, love, and the simple joys that build a lasting bond.